Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. It's all super cheeky. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from Hate Social Classes, who says, I found out my boyfriend sold his car and more to buy me an engagement ring because he's insecure about my family's wealth. 28 female and 30 male. I'm sort of rushing this, so please excuse any issues with spelling and grammar. There's a little background info required in order for you to completely understand this story. My family is fairly wealthy. We are not insanely rich or anything, but there's enough money for our family to live very comfortable for the next couple of generations without working. I try to make sure that my family's money does not affect who I am or my relationships. Because of this, I usually try to hide my financial situation until I'm extremely close with someone. When I finally told my current boyfriend about it, he told me that he was really intimidated. Things were a little weird after that, but we eventually got back to where we were before. Eventually though, even though I thought he had accepted my family money, he did his entire approach to our relationship. Instead of buying me jewelry or clothes, he would plan these spontaneous romantic gestures. I think he didn't see the point in showing me his love with money, so he decided to commit time and effort instead. Personally, I love this. Things got more complicated after he met my parents. We stayed at my parents' beach house for 4 days. All of a sudden, the smart, confident guy became insanely shy and awkward. He commented on the size of our house, my dad's car, even my younger brother's comic book collection. I was a little annoyed because I really wanted him to bond with my parents, but he kept on acting like a scared little kid. After I expressed my concern to him, he told me that he was afraid my parents would think he wasn't good enough for me. I get so frustrated when I think about how insecure he is about money. Regardless of what he thinks, my parents love him. He went to a good college, has a PhD, makes $200,000 plus a year, and treats me like a princess. He's funny, charming when he's not insecure, and incredibly sweet. I'm completely in love with him, but I don't know how I can get him to move past my family's finances. Anyways, this is the current problem at hand. Last week, he sold his BMW and bought a used Toyota. I noticed he had been selling a lot of his stuff. Watches, cameras, etc. And each time I asked him about it, he said he thought the money could be used better elsewhere. I thought he meant in stocks or something. When his sister visited me and told me he was planning on spending more than $200,000 on my engagement ring, I was completely shocked. The proposal itself wasn't that much of a surprise. We've been discussing marriage for a while now, but I'm shocked that a guy as sensible as him would pour all this money into something as arbitrary as a ring. I know he wants to give me that ring that I can be proud of, but this is completely ridiculous. Even his sister thought he was being crazy and begged me to talk him out of it. Apparently she already tried and failed. Reddit. What can I do to convince him that he doesn't need to prove anything to me? We've had this discussion so many times, but he always reverts back. How can I bring this up with him in a sensitive way? I'm kind of lost for words on that one. I was hoping that was a typo when it said $200,000 on a ring. Holy moly. And I mean, he's making $200,000 plus a year. It's a lot of money, right? I'm not sure what I could advise on this. This is all a bit beyond me. This is all out of my reach, but I would certainly say I don't think I would be able to accept something like if it was being given to me, a $200,000 ring. I don't think I'd be able to accept that. I know we're talking about different levels of wealth here, but all I can think of is like a down payment towards a house or something like that. That's all that's going through my head. And I know this sounds stupid because I'm not sure if they have to think about that or not, the amount of money that they're getting. And I think it makes it even harder because you said you had these discussions before, but can you really just sort of drill it into him that, it doesn't matter on the price of the ring, that you just want to spend the time with him, and it can be a $200 ring, but because it's come from you, that's what means the most to you. Basira says, tell him that you won't accept the ring he buys at that price. Tell him the reason you'd be proud to wear the ring is because he bought it for you, not how much it cost, and then propose to go shopping together. You said a reasonable amount you're willing to spend on a ring, and stick with that. Like a Go says, all I took from your story was that your boyfriend is madly in love with you, that he would sacrifice all his worldly possessions to make you happy. I hope you realize this. It doesn't seem to be about the ring, but rather giving you all he has to offer. Gritex says, this is a sign of more than just his insecurity about your family's money. It's that his insecurity is enough to turn him towards terrible financial choices. That's a big deal in a serious relationship or marriage. You two need to be on the same page about what is and isn't okay to spend when it's your money together. Since you're getting married, the $190k he shouldn't be spending here is something you should legitimately have a say in. It should be something you guys invest in your future together, in stocks or whatever, like you said. You two need to sit down and have the conversation. If you can't do that, why are you getting married to begin with? Marriage is nothing if not about communication. And one more from Olov, who says, this is pretty crazy. I don't quite understand his reasoning. If I were him, I would have bought the traditional 3-month salary, been very romantic with a proposal, and offered you a prenup to remove your family's money from the equation. I would say no and tell him what you want from him. Hint, it's not a $200k ring. I saw Denzel Washington on a show this week and they were kidding him that his wife of like 30 years said no 3 times to his proposal. So no doesn't mean never. It just means not now / not like this. Good luck. So then OP updates the post, which says, a ton has happened since my last post. My fiance proposed to me before I had a chance to talk to him about the ring. In hindsight, I should have recognized that he was preparing to propose. On Friday, I woke up to him cooking me breakfast and he insisted that I stay in bed so he could spoil me. He told me that he used a vacation day so we could enjoy a longer weekend together. I don't know why I didn't realize he was planning on proposing, but I honestly didn't expect him to already have the ring. Also, sweet things like this aren't very rare with him. Still, I understand that I should have acted more quickly, but at the same time I know it's too late to cry over spilled milk. The ring really is beautiful. When he proposed to me, I completely forgot about talking to him about the price. I was far too excited. Even though I was aware that he was planning on proposing, I still allowed myself to get swept up in the moment. Anyways, most of this information is irrelevant. There's still the issue with the price of the ring. I know I should hate it because it's so expensive and unnecessary, but now that I have it, I really don't want to give it up. It's not the price or anything like that. I love it because it's my engagement ring. I already had a conversation with him about the price and he told me it wasn't about his insecurities. He said he wanted to show me how important I am to him and that he's willing to give up anything to make me happy. I don't know if I'm letting my emotions get the best of me, but I really believe him. I know the price discussion isn't really on his mind because he's been trying to get me to go along with his prenup. There's no way I'm letting him sign one of those. What does Reddit think? Should I keep the ring? My friends want me to keep it, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. I know that when I look at it, I should be thinking about what my fiance had to give up, but in reality, I just think about how much he loves me and how happy he makes me. Yes, the money could be spent on much more noble cause, but I feel really happy when my fiance only wants to spend his money on me. I'm sure there are much more serious issues, but I would appreciate some advice on this. Please stop commenting about the 1%. You can do that anywhere else. And there was a mix of comments below that one. Some people saying absolutely keep the ring, it sounds wonderful the way he explained it, etc. Other people saying, this is setting up a bad precedent for the future, financial wise. But what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below as always. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Southern Galley, who says, am I the arsehole for refusing to take my daughter to my ex-husband's wedding? My 42 female ex-husband, 45 male and I were together for 20 years. We had a beautiful daughter together, Jocelyn, 14. We got a divorce 5 years ago due to infidelity on his part. I was devastated. He was the love of my life and he betrayed all the trust and loyalty we had built up. To make matters worse, he ended up in a relationship with the woman he cheated on me with. They got engaged 1 year later and are set to be married in 2 weeks. Honestly, I'm still heartbroken over my divorce. It's hurtful to me that we were together for 20 years, and he could just go fall in love with someone else as if I was nothing. However, Jocelyn was only 9 when we divorced, and he's a great father, so I would never want to come between their bond. Jocelyn loves his fiancée and she's very sweet to her, but she doesn't know the reason why her dad and I divorced. I want to tell her when she's a bit older and he doesn't want to tell her at all. Anyways, I compromised with him that Jocelyn could come to the wedding, but that he would have to provide the transportation to and from the wedding, as I want no part of it. I don't want to drop my daughter off at his wedding. I don't want to see all the decorations and the happy guests. It'd just be too much for me. I didn't tell him all of that obviously, but he agreed. Today he calls me and asks if he can ask for a huge favor. It turns out that his future in-laws are flying in the morning of the wedding and he has to go pick them up. Therefore, he can't pick up my daughter the day of and wanted to ask if I could take her. I said absolutely not and asked why he can't pick her up the day before when she gets off of school. He said he doesn't want to make the drive twice and that he will likely not have the time as he has to prepare for the rehearsal dinner. I asked why can't the bride pick up her parents. He said she'll be getting her hair done and won't be able to. I laughed and told him there's no way I'll take my daughter and that he'd have to figure it out. Boy, why did I say that? My daughter ran downstairs crying, face beet red 10 minutes after my conversation with her dad, calling me terrible and accusing me of not wanting her to spend time with her dad. I told her that's not the case and she demanded to know why I couldn't take her. I couldn't give her an answer and she ran upstairs crying. Now I'm getting messages from his family calling me heartless and cold and a bitch for trying to ruin his special day over a relationship that is long over. My family understands my point of view, but I feel terrible that I've upset my daughter. I don't know what to do. Am I the arsehole? Should I put aside my feelings and take her? Now to me, you're not going to be the arsehole in this situation. You've not stopped Jocelyn from going. You've just got a boundary that you don't want to see any of that, and rightfully so, it's painful to you. You've got a boundary, that's what it's there for. And what is X playing at? You know, there's plenty of options for him. Has he never heard of a taxi? That's what the in-laws could be using to get to the wedding whilst he picks up his daughter. And I'm really curious to what the conversation with dad was that she come down calling you terrible and accusing you of not wanting her to spend time with her dad. And of course, he doesn't want his daughter to know that he cheated. Of course he doesn't want her to know that, but I'm starting to think from that conversation, you know, at the moment you're looking like the bad guy in the situation when, you know, you're not. So I'd be curious to know what people think, because I don't really know, but do you think the daughter is old enough to know about the situation now? Do you think she's old enough to know that her father cheated and that's why she can't attend events like this? The mum, I mean, that's why the mum can't attend events like that. But running away says not the arsehole, but I also think your daughter is old enough to know the truth about her father, otherwise you'll be the bad guy going forward. Jazz Like Humor says not the arsehole, the people he needs to pick up can get a taxi. His first responsibility should be to his daughter if he actually wants her there. I think it might be time to tell your daughter a bit more about what happened. She's a teenager now and needs to be learning lessons about loyalty and managing relationships responsibly. Her getting the impression that this situation is all right and that you are wrong for not being happy that the ex-husband who cheated on you is getting remarried is not a good place for her to start when it comes to learning how to expect good treatment from future partners. If he thinks picking up his future in-laws is more important than picking up his own daughter, then he's very, very wrong. The adult in-laws can manage a variety of transportation options. A young teenager can't. He's showing his priorities and it isn't his daughter, and you need to be prepared to help protect her and guide her as he continues into the future, wanting to play happy family and have his daughter go along with it while he puts her in second place to his new family. SCS says not the arsehole, but 14 is old enough to understand cheating. I would tell darling daughter that while I love her and I love that she has a good relationship with her dad and a future stepmom, I can't handle seeing their wedding when they started dating while dad and I were still married. Then I would ask her if she has any ideas as to how she can be at the wedding without me having to see it. Sometimes teenagers are incredible out-of-the-box thinkers. Cool Attorney says it's not for 2 weeks. There's plenty of time for him to find alternative arrangements for her to get there. You have set your boundary. Maybe you can compromise to take her to a midway point or to a friend or family members. His family is pissed enough to text you, they can step up. His wedding and his inability to plan stopped being your problem a long time ago. You'd be the arsehole if you stopped her going, but you are not. He's the arsehole for breaching a boundary you put in place, and a simple and easily worked around one at that. So now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Would you tell the daughter about what happened in the past? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Heavy Lawfulness 3343, who says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my friend that I think his girlfriend is about to leave him? I, 30 female, am friends with Ruby, female 30, and Tom, male 31. We met at uni and were part of the same group of friends. We got together in our final year. After uni, Tom and I started work. Ruby did masters while working. Her and Tom moved in together. After masters, Ruby landed a very good job and Tom decided to quit his. Apparently she wasn't happy but let it go. Ruby and I were best friends, but after graduation, she became boring. While me and Tom would have a drink or two in their garden, she would study or work and drifted apart. Recently, Ruby had been more distant. When I come over and Tom and I sit in the garden, she doesn't even join us. She does her own stuff. She barely acknowledges us, but Tom doesn't see an issue. I tried to tell him, but he said it's fine. At least she doesn't bother him while gaming anymore. She's lost a lot of weight lately. She's gained it because of her thyroid, and has just been focusing on herself. I tried inviting her to have a drink with us, but she always refuses. Frankly, I think she's taken adulting way too seriously. Last Saturday I was out with some friends and we were doing a pub crawl. At one, I noticed Ruby having a drink with her friends. I didn't know she had any, and she was her old self, laughing, having fun, cracking jokes. She was the life of a party. I didn't know any of these people and I suspected Tom didn't either. I text Tom and he said he's busy with a game and we'll talk later. I couldn't let it go. She went outside with her friend and I followed them. It was crowded, so she didn't notice me and I kind of eavesdropped on them. I was lucky because they were talking about her plans and it seems she's planning on leaving Tom. She's sick of him not working and ignoring her, but being stuck because he doesn't work. She saved money for herself and saved a few months' money so when she leaves, he can have money to live off. I couldn't believe my ears. What a bee. She said she's got her ticket and house sorted, but she saw me before saying more. She looked at me with disgust, didn't even acknowledge me, and switched to another language with her friend. I got a taxi and went straight to Tom's, telling him what I heard. He told me to stop being silly. I told him that he should consider what to do so she stays, and he said he has no reason to leave. We played some games and got a bit more drunk. I stayed on their sofa and didn't know when Ruby came home. I was woken up by Ruby at 2 PM, and she called me an arsehole amongst other names, kicked me out of the house, telling me to never come again. She was pissed because Tom confronted her about leaving. She told me not to meddle, and I told her he has a right to know if she's going to leave and has a chance to make things right. Was I really in the wrong for telling him? I mean, we used to be friends, but I don't think I have any obligation to her, but I'm not sure. Am I really the arsehole for warning him? I thought he deserved that. And we do have an update in a second. But Funky Orange Penguin says, congrats, you might have been the last straw that broke the relationship's back. She doesn't seem happy and neither does Tom. Let the relationship end and mind your business. It is bizarre you can't understand why she'd want to leave him. You're the arsehole. Kids Won't Sleep says you're the arsehole all the way, meddling. She's too an adult. She's a bitch for planning to give him money to live on once she leaves. He plays video games and gets drunk while she works. I hope she leaves quickly to go live her adult life and that you and Tom grow up. You're the arsehole. Extra. Everyone sucks here except Ruby. You sound like an enabler and a meddler and your friend sounds like a leech. But now Tom can be your problem since you seem so infatuated with him. Ruby's not boring either. She's been an adult because you and Tom don't want to be one. She's probably working twice as hard to keep bills paid. And one more from Mrs. N who says, OP, grow up. Stay out of other people's relationships and guess what? Of course your friend was super happy. I'd be happy too if someone paid all my bills and did everything while I sat on my ass and wasted my own college degree doing nothing. And he said the only problem they had was her nagging him. Translation says, she was telling him point blank the things that made her unhappy and the change she wanted to see in their relationship and he made zero effort to accommodate her. Hence, the nagging continued. Ruby deserves her goddamn freedom. Her life will be much better with both of you gone. And in 10 years, when she's still successful and has a stable life, you and your friend continue to struggle. Well, you'll have no one to blame but yourselves. You aren't in your 20s anymore. Now is the time to build the life you want, which is what smart little Ruby is doing. Team Ruby. Then OP did update the post, which says, "Update, shit has hit the fan. Last night, Tom knocked on my door crying. She kicked him out. They were talking and he was begging for her to stay. He offered to find a part-time job and do more around the house, but she wouldn't listen to him and didn't care that he wanted to try. She said she's leaving in 2 weeks' time. He asked where and if they could meet and work on things while leaving separately, but she's moving abroad. She asked him to go stay someplace else while she is packing and he can move back in once she leaves. She told him she had money saved up for him so he'll have time to find a job. He asked her if he could get them now since he has to go someplace else to stay, and she said absolutely not. She also said that because of him asking her, she wasn't going to give him money for 6 months as she initially planned, but only for 3 months because he only cares about money. So he is not staying at mine because he doesn't have money to stay elsewhere for 2 weeks, and she wouldn't even give him a penny. He has his debit card. They had a joint account and she had a separate one, but she's transferred all but £100. That's all he has for 2 weeks. As you can see, she's not the saint you guys make her up to be. Tom is heartbroken and all she cares is money and her move. She doesn't care how he feels or if he has a place to stay for the 2 weeks. Holy moly. What do you guys make of this one? What would you say after that? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today. Getting involved in the stories, your love, support and time always means the absolute world to me, and I just want you to know that. So thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today